Patricia. I welcome you to you, and we are very excited to have you part of the youth transformation on our planet Earth. We couldn't see anyone more fit in to be a part of this process.
Thank you. I'm very honored.
How did it feel when you realized that you were different?
Actually, when I was a child, I wasn't aware that I was different.
Okay.
Aside from being different from the point of view that I've always been extremely outspoken about things that you're not supposed to talk about.
Okay.
And I am today. I don't feel different. I feel part of a wonderful time where so many people are awakening to who they are, to their sovereign being, and the importance of knowing that, and yet being one with all sentient beings.
Absolutely. I think that's fascinating. And what's going on? Like, can we get right into it? Because a lot of people want to know, like your documentary that you did, what is really happening on our planet now? Because there is a polarity in consciousness, and yeah. And we are all trying to ride the wave and understand really what is happening right now in our moment on this planet.
Well, unquestionably, we really are looking at an acceleration, an extraordinary acceleration of the forces that would want to keep humanity in slavery.
Right.
And I think we all know what we're talking about there.
Yeah.
I don't even like to voice the term the dark side.
Right.
But I don't want to give it power. But there's no question that on this planet, the force that would have the entire human race in shackles is very busy. Very, very busy.
Yeah.
And accelerating the madness to a point that we really do need to reach critical mass on the lighting side very soon. The urgency is there, and yet I smile because I see so many very powerful souls on this planet, and spirit warriors all around me, people who have got it and are up and ready and standing for the light and for love and for beauty. And our numbers are increasing also just incredibly.
Yes.
When you were saying when you were a child, I mean, I can tell you that there was nothing to read, there was nothing to get your hands on. I'm not to date myself.
That's okay. You look fabulous. So time doesn't matter.
There's so much available now, and so many people who are working for spirit, and I just, in spite of it all, in spite of how really intense it is, and how bleak it looks sometimes.
Yeah.
No question that
Yeah.
the light will prevail.
What do you think about the ego, Patricia? How do you think the ego, and how does it play on us?
As long as your ego is your shadow in front of you, you can't make very much progress. So I'm seeing a lot of people that are in conviction of some idea and ready to fight or kill for that idea. And that is ego separation. I'm right and you're wrong, and there's no discussion.
Yeah.
And that is really destructive, and it's also destructive in our circles, because I also see a lot of people who are positioned as healers and teachers, and yet still that ego starts bubbling up and they kind of get off track. So when you ask me how I feel about the ego, I feel that it's one of the most important things to be aware of.
Right.
And to hopefully overcome and get into humility.
Yes, because honestly, Patricia, I think that's our only limitation right now. Like, in order for us to transcend to the next level of our beingness or truth, I think our greatest obstacle on this planet right now is overcoming our ego, because that's our greatest limitation, I believe, from allowing ourselves to be pure light, pure love.
I would agree, and I would add to that that the other probably as powerful force is fear.
Absolutely.
Well, the nature of ego consciousness is separation.
Right.
It's comparison. It's I'm better than you. I don't have what you have. I know more. I.
Right.
And so that is in opposition to being one with another.
Right.
And so by the nature of that, one with another is love, and unconditional love at that. And then fear is that I need, I am, I have to be the one and only. And it's very dangerous because it's very easy to grease the ego. And
Yes.
if anybody wants to reach you and manipulate you, all they have to do is stroke your ego. Why is it that some people don't get enchained in the mind control mechanisms that are being used, the media propaganda? How is it that some people see right through it?
Right.
And I'd like to say that I'm one of them, because it's been all my life now. I've just said no, I still don't think so.
Right.
And why do others get completely mesmerized by it and succumb to the power of persuasion, the power of mind control?
Yeah.
And I think that being in humility is one of the reasons why that can happen. When you are just honoring the other,
Right.
humble in your understanding of who you are, honoring the other, those manipulations can't work, or at least they can't work as well.
Right. So what makes the struggle, Patricia? And why is the struggle so hard? Why are we more attracted to being manipulated and imprisoned and being victim than we are to being free and independent and light in our truth?
I think that more and more people are breaking free of the drug of being mesmerized by what's being thrown at them as social behavior and the cool thing and the thing you must be, have, and do.
Right.
Again, approaching, targeted to the ego itself. More people are becoming aware of it and being able to break away. But bear in mind that we've got direct mind control techniques that are used on the public now.
Okay.
They've got sound warfare. They've got scalar waves. You've seen crowd control that uses sound.
Yes, and it's scary.
Torture. Yeah. So we know that these advanced techniques are being used against people, and the more you tune out, the more you unplug, the freer you become. And
Yeah.
the more you get into nature where truth really lies,
Right.
the freer you become, the more aware you become. So it's a call to people now to spend less time with all the gadgets. We have got to slow down with the gadgets.
We really
We've got
do.
tracking systems in every single gadget. The computers are driving us crazy. We're being shown that Facebook and all of our social networks are completely controlled. And the food that is being sold is that you have to consume.
Yes. I was going to go there with you.
Possible.
Yeah, because that's a big passion for you, the food, the vaccine, and I'd like to add the air and the water. Because, they're attacking us on all those 4 elements that's necessary for us as a species, I believe.
And it boils down to profit for them.
Absolutely.
The more we're controllable, the more that ambiguous the they, the richer they become. So the more enslaved we are, the more wealthy the wealthy become. Although I wonder, how much wealth do they need? How many properties do they need? How much money do they need in the bank?
Well, they don't think, they don't think like a soul being like yourself would. So I guess nothing is ever enough for somebody like that.
That's right, but that's the message from the media. Nothing is ever enough.
Yeah.
You can't be thin enough. You can't be young enough.
Right.
They're using models that are 12 years old and dressing them up to look like they're young women.
Right.
And even the 12-year-old models are being retouched with Photoshop.
Absolutely. It's
so
insane.
These ideal concepts or images of what we're supposed aren't even real at all. It's all a hologram. And they're altering society, and the way they do it is by hitting that ego consciousness, which is, if I buy this, I'll be beautiful enough, I'll be cool enough, that's what it really boils down to.
At the end of the day. Yeah, it really is.
We look now at the technology that we're using. The mad scientists are running away with genetics.
Yeah.
They're putting insect genetics into plants.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was reading last week that they're thinking of cloning a mammoth. I'm like, why? Because they can't.
They said something like, we're going to have a mammoth in about 7 months.
Yeah, like,
because we don't have enough problems on the planet.
I know. They're so ridiculous.
So here we are, and I know that it seems to me that the human race only gets up and moving when we're pushed against the wall.
Yeah.
Up against the wall.
Yeah. Well, we're there right now, Patricia. We're up against the wall.
We are up against the wall, and I believe in humankind.
Yeah.
I believe that we are about to show our greatest hour as human beings on this planet, and the numbers of people who are becoming aware are so dramatically increasing.
Yes, it's incredible.
Great comfort, great hope, and great excitement as to what's going to unfold.
Absolutely. So that leads to the next point then. What do you think is going to happen in 2012?
2012. First of all, we do have the ending of the Mayan calendar.
Right.
And now there's a big debate as whether exactly what the date is. Was it really October 28th, 2011? Was it 12/12? Was it 21/12? And to me, that doesn't matter very much, because to expect to pin down the world cycles of universal and cosmic energy to a 24-hour period is sort of linear thinking on the part of us humans.
Right.
But we do know that the Mayan calendar runs out around, let's say, in this time frame.
Okay.
We know the sun is at its solar peak in this time frame. We know that we're completing a galactic cycle in this time frame.
Yeah.
And so it is a pretty huge shift that's going on, and we're already in it. It's not going to happen when the bell rings.
No, it's definitely happening. Yes, you're right.
I don't know if this rings true for you, but a lot of people are breaking up in their relationships.
Yeah, a lot. It's very scary. It's happening to a lot of my friends. I've been married for 13 years. I understand because, there is the polarity also, because we're both growing. We're both coming into our own. And it's much, I remember the phase where it seemed so much harder than it normally was. You know what I mean? Our arguments, the tension, him not wanting to let go. I saw the elements playing, but yet still we hung in there because we always had a core love for each other. And it just makes me sad when I see so many people not fighting, because it's not going to be better with somebody else. It's going to be the same thing. Because
and more than fighting, I'm seeing people just leave.
Yeah, they're breaking up.
I have a dear friend whose man came home one night, and she went out. She lived with him in a pretty remote area.
Yeah.
She had to drive about 4 hours away to see her daughters, and so she left for an overnight. When she came back, they had dinner, everything was roses, and the next day he went to work, and he forgot to mention that he'd already moved out.
Get out. That's drastic.
And this is happening a lot. So, no warning, no reason, no anything. It's over. I'm wondering if this is because people are so possessed by their own role in the madness, the confusion of what's unfolding.
Right.
They can't cope with being a caretaker for another human being or not. I don't know. I'm just seeing it's happening so much.
I think
Part of the shift as well.
Yeah, I really do, and I see that aspect of it as one aspect, and another aspect I see a little rebellion of you know, maybe I've been wearing this mask for so long, you know, and I don't want to wear this mask anymore, and it's hurtful to the people that you've created this false life with. But at the same time, maybe no matter what the price, that particular individual is just so fed up of wearing the mask. Because the mask is becoming a little bit more painful to wear these days.
So many people are having existential crisis.
Yeah.
About what's happening on the planet and their role in it all. And it's very deep, and it's fear, and there's a lot of ego in that as well. It's, you know, what's going to happen to me? How do I fit? What happens if I can't do this or that or the other thing? And it's this is all part of it. We're shifting out of that separate mind.
Yeah.
And we're shifting into an era of universal light, universal love.
And nobody ever said the process would be dandy and smooth. There's chaos and beauty.
That's right. I also think that we signed up for it.
Yeah. We're like,
be there when this takes place.
Yeah.
So I think we've got some pretty, I don't want to say tough cookies, but some very powerful people are on the planet now, standing up and being a lighthouse for the others. I spent a lot of time in Egypt. In fact, I just got back from Egypt. And I did an interview yesterday where the interviewer asked me what was the difference between the Commission approach and the Egyptologist approach to the history of Egypt. And I said, well, as far as I understand it, the Egyptologists still refuse to acknowledge that the Egyptians were black.
Right.
I mean, come on, Egypt is in Africa, hello.
Right.
So, as much as I've seen, it's unquestionable that there were probably other nationalities, other people in Egypt, like there are now, like the lands have not been separate for so long that any given people was strictly an isolated species, race, color, or creed. And perhaps at the level of Pharaoh and the wealthy Egyptians who were traveling, perhaps they found partners or were ordained to marry or partner with leaders in other countries. I don't know. But when I see those beautiful black faces in Egypt, I see a proud Egyptian civilization that comes from the 42 tribes of the Kemet.
Right.
It behooves a lot of people to still sell the idea of the black Africans as slaves.
Right.
But a little bit further than that and look at the dignity and the beauty and the power of a Commission land.
Yeah, but it's just part of the control system to have us thinking less of each other. You know, it's just playing a game, playing us against each other, you know, the value system of worth, which sucks.
Yeah, well, this is going to go. This separation is going to go.
Yeah, it has to go.
Another thing, imagine if a ship started appearing all over the planet.
Yeah.
Imagine a day when in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, in San Francisco, in Rome, people are like, uh-oh, I don't think I'm in this anymore.
I know.
What would happen on this earth? It would immediately change things on the earth, and your enemy, black, white, Jewish, Arab, whatever that enemy is ordained to be, would now be your fellow earthman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's what our new title will become, Earthlings.
Hello, Earth. I'm ready for that. Welcome. Come on in.
I know, absolutely. And what's your take on crop circles now? Because there's been a lot popping up lately.
I started going into the crop circles in 1996, and I go every year.
Right.
And I have seen some pretty remarkable formations, and I have been in some of the more remarkable.
How did it feel?
They all feel different.
Okay.
And in the first one, was the best one. It's like, they say your first time you can never forget. That was remarkably powerful for me. I lost time. I lost consciousness. I was out for 2 hours in that formation, and when I came back, it was 2 weeks after that I started channeling the Syrian Night Council.
Really?
So yeah.
Wow.
They had done some kind of a tune-up while I was lying there out of my body, who knows where.
Right.
And that is where the contact was reactivated, because I know now that they also worked with me when I was a child.
That's interesting. So you being in the energy field of the crop circle triggered that memory, that awakened memory for you?
Well,
of that connection?
I was in England taking a colored healing class, and I had a dream that I was flying over Stonehenge, and I saw this gigantic spiral next to it.
Really?
And I heard a voice say, pay attention, this is a lock-on point for extra-dimensional consciousness, and it's going to be very important for you. Pay attention. And it woke me up. I was like, I'm paying attention. So a couple of days later, it was a college. We had a field trip, and we went to Glastonbury. And there I saw this image on the wall, like a giant postcard, like a poster. And I said, "What is that?" To the book. It was a bookstore, and she said, "It's the latest crop circle." I said, "What are crop circles?" She said, "Well, we don't know. We think they're some form of extra-dimensional contact." I was like, pay attention. But I couldn't believe it. It was exactly the way I had drawn it.
Really?
For the other students in the school.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I bought the postcard. I brought it back to the school, and we compared my doodle and this, and they were the exact proportions. So one of the professors said, "Patricia, you've got to get into that crop circle." I said, "Well, I don't really, I never knew very much about them until then. And I had thought that they were some kind of a burn mark from a craft in the grass or something. I just really wasn't attuned to what was going on."
Yeah.
So that first time, having dreamt it, I feel that I was called to it, as were many people around this planet. That crop circle, which was called the Julia set, had Tibetan monks, there were Native Americans in there, all kinds of shamans and priests. It was something very, very powerful. And then every year I go, and every year they're different. And I'm amazed that very few people on this planet are getting in them. And I think that these are the first vestiges of contact. In the crop circles, we are seeing numerical ratio. We're seeing Fibonacci sequence, sacred geometry. These are depictions of an intelligent mind.
Right, absolutely. They're beautiful.
Of higher consciousness, or at least consciousness that has intelligence enough to convey an information based on the relationship of the spheres or whatever is being depicted.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. No one can deny that. And if you've ever done research into it, you can't deny it. It's beautiful.
Some of them are just so utterly breathtaking, you can't imagine. Like there was a Tibetan mandala on a hill. I don't remember what year it was. It was gigantic, and all of the circles were so fine, you couldn't even walk in them with your feet.
Wow.
No sign of trampling. They were too fine to have been able to have been tramped by a human foot. There were just hundreds of these circles all over this gigantic hill. If this is man-made, then wow.
Yeah.
I say kudos to the circle makers who have nothing else to do but make them.
Yeah. Seriously. Okay, Patricia, can I ask you one last question now? I wanted to know, how is the attack on our air, water, mind, and food affecting our DNA?
These are very good questions.
Thank you. I put a lot of thought into this, Patricia. A lot of thought.
Well, unquestionably, our DNA is under attack. And
Yes.
there are many possible reasons. One is to, as described in the books, that we were taken down to 2 strands of DNA to be controllable slaves.
Right.
And there's this dichotomy. On the one hand, the planet is activating, and I believe that we are activating more strands of DNA with or without DNA activation training, which I do around the world. By the nature of being in this vibration now, the Earth's incredibly fine-tuned pattern of vibrational acceleration, that we are, in fact, starting to put those pieces back together like a jigsaw puzzle. The DNA, that so-called junk that we are now being able to, we're seeing reassemble. In fact, I think that in Moscow they photographed a child with a 3rd strand of DNA. Miserable.
Really?
Really? Yeah. So that on the one hand is happening, and on the other hand, the forces that want us to remain in slavery are doing everything to make sure that we do not do that. So we've got, for example, the TSA scanners.
Yes.
They scramble the DNA. I don't really believe a word about what they're supposed to be doing. I think they're intent upon scrambling the DNA of human beings.
Yes, absolutely.
And
And
so it's very
chemtrail.
important to be as meticulous as you can about what you eat, what you drink,
Yeah.
what you think, and what you allow to come into your consciousness. Because if you're just sitting at a computer or a computer game or television all day long, you are going to become a robot.
Totally.
Just look at the people that are walking around going,
Yeah. Even when they're walking, yeah.
even when they're walking, and it never ceases to amaze me because I just wonder, who are we all talking to so much
Yeah.
that we cannot even walk down a corner without being on this phone? I'm interested to see that in a few countries, they're starting to ban GMO. So we've got Hungary, who has banned
Yeah.
genetically modified foods for 10 years, and the same with Peru. After they've planted it, seen what damage it really does. So there is starting already to be a backlash against this ridiculous genetically modified takeover of this planet.
Right.
And I recommend to people that they seriously consider they're doing their own gardening. And I've even heard stories where they're outlawing people from having gardens.
Yes, they are.
So what does that tell us? Why in the world, if they're telling us that there's a food shortage, which is the excuse for so much that's going on, why wouldn't they want people to produce more food?
Right.
Answer, they want the shortage so that they can raise the prices.
Absolutely.
And fill us with genetically modified garbage. So I recommend that people go out and get themselves some heirloom seeds, which I stored up for myself, and start growing their own food. I have wonderful food. I've got different fruit trees. I have a vegetable garden every year. And as much as possible, I avoid buying anything that is resembling a prepared food product.
Okay.
And I think it's time also for people to start understanding how bad it is to eat meat.
Right.
Not only what it does to your body, but what it's doing to the planet.
Okay.
What it does to the animals is
Okay.
also something to be considered. But, these gigantic mega lakes of cow excrement with all those hormones and all those antibiotics, and this seeping into the Mother Earth. It's just too much. And then water. There's a lot that can be done now to purify water. There are wonderful tools available to us. So it's time for people to start filtering their water and paying attention to the water and loving the water, because we've seen from Emoto. You know Dr. Emoto?
Yeah.
He has showed us how water retains memory
Yes.
and how loving the water and praying and how beautiful it is, the water begins to return to its purest state.
Yes, that was a beautiful one.
The hexagon.
Yeah.
Well, we are 80% water too.
Yes, we are.
So every time we look in the mirror and say, ugh, I can't stand my body.
Yeah, it forms into that.
80% of of your body makeup takes that memory
Yeah.
and holds.
Yeah. I wish people would understand that.
And start sending in the message.
Yeah.
I am beautiful. I am good. I am joyous.
Yeah, because you're alive. All your cells are alive. And they respond to you, you know?
And they hold memory.
Totally. Yeah, that's why I find memory DNA so fascinating. Because not only do we have our own memory created, we also have our ancestral DNA that's inherited also in us, you know? So it's I find the whole thing fascinating.
This is one of the ways when your question was, how do they manipulate us this way?
Yeah.
And if our water is so bad, we're starting off with bad water to begin with.
Yeah.
And then we're being bombarded with images of not real people because even the models are being photoshopped.
Yeah.
So they're not even good enough. These skinny, gorgeous people are not good enough to be on the cover of a magazine.
Right.
So we have to make 10 people to fit the hologram of what we're supposed to look like. And you've got just a bunch of discontent people telling themselves, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not young enough, over and over and over.
Yeah, and that's a disease.
Yeah, so despite how toxic some of our substances are, I believe the power of the mind can overrule them.
Absolutely. And I believe once we connect to our true self within, we're immune to that crap.
Yes.
Because the only crap that can affect is your ego. It can't affect your true spirit. You know?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Eloquently put.
So eloquently, darling. I want to...
Succinct and to the point.
Yeah. Absolutely, because that's where we're at right now. We have to be straight to the point.
Wonderful. My website is SiriusRevelations.net.
Okay.
I also have a website which is patriciacori.com, but that's pretty much just for the media.
Okay.
So Sirius Revelations is my site. I'm also on Facebook, and people are surprised to see that it's really me. They always ask, is that somebody posted it, Patricia Cori? No, it's me. I try to be active and stay in touch with everyone. And we'll be talking about the foundation very soon now because we are actively putting it together.
Yeah.
And it will involve just all kinds of help if needed, volunteer help to distribute material, funding, whatever we need so that we can pull together many different factions that are working on their own. One of the objectives of my foundation is to get everybody to work together instead of all these separate groups so that we can truly make great change.
Absolutely.
And help all of the animals in the ocean. And of course, there are all kinds of animals that need help, but we're trying to keep focused at the moment on the cetacean nation.
Absolutely. Patricia, would you like to leave a message to our viewers? Anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I would like to say, first of all, know that you are an immortal being. You have intended to be here for this, and no matter how scary it gets, and how shaken you can become, just go back to that understanding, that recall that at the soul level you knew you were coming in for a purpose.
Right.
And just like you're coming in, you're going to go out and do something else after this. So remember your immortality, and that will give you great power. And instead of fearing, celebrate, and instead of fearing, love.
Absolutely.
And all of it will fall together.
That's very beautiful, Patricia. I thank you so much. Our viewers, thank you so much. Thank you for being patient with me, and you were very amazing, very awesome, and I thank you for your insight and your gift of your life being here, for you choosing actually to be here at this moment in our
I
history.
wouldn't have missed it.
I know. I'm so happy you came. I'm so happy you chose to be here, and thank you so much for your part and in being the whole of who we are. I appreciate you, and we love you.
Thank you.
And namaste, sister.